together right now, all over the face of your fans.
Hey.
Today, no, listen, alright? We're gonna be talking about Justice League, and I'm talking about the original
Justice League.
Justice League. Yeah, no, listen. No, listen, alright? We're gonna be talking about not Zack Snyder's Justice League that is coming out soon, Joss Whedon's Justice League, which was kind of like, it's pretty much his because they did so many reshoots, it practically became his Justice League with the signature style. Now, one big thing that I felt compelled to talk about this, not only because it's a movie with a lot of things that, you know, can be shat on, but it's one of the greatest examples, and especially the fact that in, you know, with the recent news that Zack Snyder was able to do his Justice League, we're going to talk about studio interference.
I like Zack Snyder.
Look, I respect Zack Snyder. You know what? And this is not a very common opinion, but Zack Snyder is, in true definition, an auteur director. He has a very distinct style. He's a very visual director. I think Zack Snyder works best when he has a very strong, you know, sort of visual storyboard to work off. Some, you know, things like 300 and Watchmen, directly based off the graphic novel. Justice League, I can see where it was a bit of a difficult case, but, you know, he still imparts that very strong, you know, much darker, strong, stylistic, you know, the way the coloring works. But no, like, talking about Joss Whedon's Justice League, this was one of the greatest cases of the studio lacked faith in Zack Snyder after what happened with Batman vs Superman.
Which I didn't have a problem with.
But we will talk about Batman vs Superman because the irony, I believe, of, you know, that stems from why the studio, you know, didn't have faith in it. The lack of success with Batman vs Superman, I believe, is attributed to the very thing that they caused, which was studio interference. That they tried to dabble and, you know, tried to push, you know, Snyder's vision of the movie so hard into trying to challenge Marvel and what Marvel was doing. That's why they got Joss Whedon on. They literally got the Avengers guy so that they could make it more colorful, they could make it more humorous, make it more appealing. They really tried to force Justice League, you know, on people a lot sooner without doing all the prep time.
And I will say, like, as a side note, I did not particularly like, you know, Warner Brothers Thor.
Warner Brothers Thor?
Also known as Aquaman.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that's a video for another time.
Yeah, I know he's meant to be the comic relief. And...
Look, the thing about what I found with Zack Snyder's Justice League was there was already a clear vision in mind, and I think one of the biggest issues that we have with a lot of these movies is the fact that the lack of commitment. You know, this sort of like the soft cock approach of like, oh, you know, we'll do it if it works, we'll do it if it doesn't work. I'm like, look, either
are you gonna do it or you don't?
Either you do it or you don't, right? Like, if you're already gonna get Zack Snyder signed on for it, at least just let him do his version, and then if you really want it, you can boot him after that. But they kind of did this thing where they let the film get shot. They let a lot of the film get shot.
What the hell happened to Black Suit Superman?
Exactly. That was again, it was a very similar Avengers issue where there was so much, you know, all this press release, all this hype, you know, building up what the film was gonna be. And, you know, for better or for worse, people were expecting a Zack Snyder Justice League. And that's really not what we got. We ended up getting a really messy, really sort of like neither here nor there. It was kind of like they were really trying to put on their Marvel mask.
I really hate Marvel.
Which is, you know, I mean, like, that's the thing. And that was one thing I would say, that I thought that if Warner Brothers at least committed to sticking to this darker approach with Zack Snyder, like, sure, look, I'm of the opinion that if they wanted to build this big wide cinematic universe in the same line that Marvel, you know, was or is, the way that they were trying to do, that it was harder to build it off this dark universe. However, if they were going to do something different, more like what they're doing now, approaching a little bit more of like a multiverse where you can have movies like Joker that, you know, are not necessarily main canon. They just, you know, it all doesn't have to connect, which I honestly think is a much better way to approach it, because you don't feel the pressure of, like, you know, with Marvel, where it's like, oh, all the continuity and the connectivity.
Don't try to connect shit after it's done well at the box office. Decide that it should connect at the start, and then you end up writing a more cohesive storyline.
Yeah, exactly. Or that, or kind of start to take the path of give yourself the room to do individual solo films that can just stand on their own feet, because that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You don't have to compete with Marvel on this. I mean, Warner Brothers is a big fucking studio. They've got a lot of money. They can afford to do things like this to kind of try and break new ground. They can still compete with Marvel without trying to compete directly with Marvel. And Justice League was an example of, if you entirely follow the money and you don't, again, what they did copy Marvel was they didn't have a plan, but Marvel still relatively had more of a plan and more time at least to set things up than them.
Okay, in the great debate of are you Team Warner Brothers or Team Marvel, it's a very simple answer, right? The answer should be Team Image.
Well, I was gonna give not the more politically correct, definitely not politically correct. I'm gonna give you the more, I think is the best answer. I'm team, give me a good fucking movie. All right, I don't believe in factions. I don't believe in sides. That's the whole thing. That's why if you follow this series, you notice we shat on Marvel, we shat on Warner Brothers, we'll shit on whoever deserves to be shit on. Universal has also done other kind of blockbustery things that even Sony. We don't believe in films that are just trying, and that's the thing. It's inevitable, right? That films will ultimately chase money, but there are still ways you can strike a balance of chasing money while still letting your film kind of have its own personality and grow and do its own thing. So many films from the 90s and even up to the 2000s were able to do their own thing, where they did trust in the director's vision to do something a little bit unique, and it still did well at the box office, because at the end of the day with movies, you can't please everyone. But if you're gonna make a comic book movie, at least please the fans. And I feel like Justice League was one of those cases where they weren't trying to please comic book fans, because comic book fans stretch a very wide range. You've got, your more sort of popcorny elements of the comic books. You also have darker interpretations and iterations of the comic books. Find your niche, or at least find a particular section and please them. Don't just go like, oh, we're gonna do exactly the Marvel thing and popcorn and please every single person, because if you attempt to please everyone, you're gonna end up pleasing no one. There's gonna be there's a really select few people who really kind of have these films that stick in their heart, That's why I think Marvel was successful. They stuck in the hearts of 14-year-olds in China. Throwback to what Anthony Mackie said. So ultimately, look, Justice League to me, we're not breaking down specific things about this movie. There are a lot of things, but I don't even think it's worth it, because at its core, we want to get to the root. Everyone's spoken about that, but we want to get to the root of the problem here, which is studio interference and the lack of faith, the lack of commitment and integrity to committing to what, the artistic vision of a director. And I'm not saying that Zack Snyder's Justice League now is going to be some big, miraculous, revolutionary film, but like we said with Tenet.
See, what's a film that got made back in...
I just want to finish this point. Like we said with Tenet, right? It's a really important thing to be able to happen today, that the fans can actually voice and decide what they want, and that they actually allow, Zack Snyder to finally present his vision. And in this case, the studio interference in the good way is that they allowed him to do it. And I think that's important. What would you say?
They had no choice. The fans spoke. Finally, the fans won. The Snyder Cut is coming, and we're gonna get it somehow. We gotta watch it. I don't know whether it's gonna be good or not, but what I do know is that is even more important than Christopher Nolan getting to make Tenet. Because for once, the studios didn't get to make the decision. The fans spoke up. They rised up against the nonsense the studios were doing, and they said, give us the Snyder Cut, and we're getting the fucking Snyder Cut. That's a big win for the fan base, who end of the day, they're the ones who are spending the money watching your films. And
yeah, exactly. We are the people who these things really matter to at the end of the day. So we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna do some new other movies and shit moving forward.
We can't wait to talk about the Snyder Cut when it comes out.
So let's go. See ya.